My left side is my bad side. Yeah. That side is, my leg is constantly on fire. It's like a match,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't turn it off. It's to the point, you had a podcast where there was a lady that had her leg cut off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was very interesting because I'm to the point where I would rather them take my leg than give me a fake one. That's how much pain it is. I'm up in age. I really don't want to be struggling. But I'm only out of the hospital 6 months. So, I got to give it some time, work at it, and see where it's at.
This is the Recovery After Stroke podcast with Bill Gassiamis, helping you navigate recovery after stroke.
Hello and welcome to Recovery After Stroke, a podcast full of answers, advice, and practical tools for stroke survivors to help you take back your life after a stroke and build a stronger future. I'm your host, three-time stroke survivor, Bill Gassiamis. After my life was turned upside down and I went from being an active father to being stuck in hospital, I knew if I wanted to get back to the life I loved before, my recovery was up to me. After years of researching and discovering, I learned how to heal my brain and rebuild a healthier and happier life than I ever dreamed possible. And now I've made it my mission to empower other stroke survivors like you to recover faster, achieve your goals, and take back the freedom you deserve. If you enjoy this episode and want more resources, accessible training, and hands-on support, check out my Recovery After Stroke membership community. Created especially for stroke survivors and caregivers, this is your clear pathway to transform your symptoms, reduce your anxiety, and navigate your journey to recovery with confidence. Head to recoveryafterstroke.com to find out more after this podcast episode. But for now, let's dive right into today's episode. This is episode 157, and my guest today is former gang member Luis Diaz. Stabbed at 13 and living the gang life until his early 20s, Luis is very comfortable saying that stroke is not the worst thing that has happened to him. Gang life was. Luis Diaz, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for being here. Tell me a little bit about what happened to you, Luis.
Well, I had a stroke. I don't remember when. When was it?
It was May of
May of last year. And I woke up in the hospital. Well, actually, I woke up in daycare. But I was a couple of months, I was on life support. So all that happened, I woke up in daycare. And time has just gone by. My kids get bigger. Daycare was, it wasn't nice. I didn't have a good experience.
Is it daycare in hospital?
It wasn't a hospital. I'm glad I had another stroke that got me to the hospital because the hospital really took good care of me.
Okay, so how old were you at the time?
47, not 46.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were 46 at the time.
Correct.
And you had a stroke, but did they not realize that it was a stroke at the beginning? What happened? Like how?
No. Well, from my experience, I know they took a lot of blood samples. So they were trying to figure out why I had the stroke or what gave it to me. So a lot of doctors had told me that it was hypersyphilis. Some doctors think it's something I ate. Others think it was an infection in my brain. So they took a lot of blood samples for me to the point where They couldn't find a vein anymore. Stick blood. They were taking it from my head.
So they couldn't work out what caused the stroke. So they have no idea still to this day that you've had a stroke for this reason or that reason.
No. I mean, I have some doctors that right away would tell me it's hypersyphilis. But to this day, I haven't been told this is what caused it.
Okay. On the day of the stroke, what were you doing? What were you just going about your business per normal, and then you started to notice some problems? What was that like?
Uh, I was at my ex's house, but honestly, I don't remember having it. I don't remember getting picked up. I don't remember going to the hospital. I don't remember nothing till like 2 months later. I woke up in daycare.
2 months later.
Yeah.
Wow, man. And when you woke up there 2 months later, who's in the room with you? Is your family there? What happens?
No, actually, the pandemic had just started. So I woke up in this pandemic and they wouldn't allow family members to visit me.
Wow.
Everything had to be done through FaceTime.
Did you wake up and wonder, where am I? What am I doing here? Did anyone give you any information that made you feel better about where you were?
No, it was just waking up and I was like, where am I? In daycare, I could talk. When I got to the hospital, I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. And they were feeding me through my stomach.
First time you know about anything is you wake up 2 months later, there's tubes in your stomach. You can't, you don't know how you got there. Man, what's going on in your head at the time? Like, are you thinking, are you, I don't know, I'm just trying to understand, like, what is that like? It sounds like it would be pretty scary or a bit crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean the hospital was really, really wonderful. I couldn't say much more about them, but they took real good care of me. Daycare was just like, yeah, he's here. They're paying us, and we'll just take care of him. But daycare was horrible.
Mhm.
At least the one I was at. It was just.
Yeah.
I'm glad I had another stroke, and
So
I'm glad I ended up at the hospital.
so you had another stroke. How soon after the first one?
I think it was almost 14 days. It was 2 months later, but when I got out of life support, I was at daycare for almost 14 days when I started getting another one. And then that's when I woke up in the hospital.
Uh-huh. And you
Yeah.
still didn't know, no idea why the second one happened. Also, we didn't know why the first one happened still.
No.
Far
The,
out.
the nurses kind of told me a little bit, but everything had to be done through FaceTime. Everything was through computer.
Yeah.
Everything. So I couldn't see my family, couldn't talk to them. Everything was FaceTime. If I wanted to talk to, and I'm lucky that my brother's wife is she does billing, so she was very familiar with it. She helped me out a lot. They helped me out tremendously, and I thank her for that.
So when you woke up, did you have some things that you couldn't do anymore? Did you have deficits? Was there issues with your body physically? What were you dealing with?
I lost a lot of weight. They were feeding me through my stomach, so I was getting real skinny. They were basically giving me shakes in my stomach. And then I couldn't move. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. They had to give me I have a
Yes.
tube right here.
A I think they call it a tracheotomy or something like that.
Yeah,
Tracheotomy.
I had to get trached, and they put that on there. But it's time goes on. I mean, I've been on about 6 months, so I'm walking now, I'm talking, and I thank God for that.
Yeah. Is there anything that still bothers you every day because of the stroke? Things that it caused, like do you have numbness anywhere or any issues
My
memory
left
issues?
side is my left side is my bad side. Yeah, that side is my leg is constantly on fire. It's like a match,
Hmm.
like you don't turn it off. It's to the point. You had a podcast where there was a lady that had her leg cut off.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was very interesting because I'm to the point where I would rather them take my leg than give me a fake one. That's how much pain it is.
Luis, that's dramatic, man. That is really dramatic because I never expected to find one person on the planet that would say, I decided to cut my leg off because it was too painful. And now here's a second person that's seriously considering it. Are you seriously considering it? Or is it
Well,
just something that is interesting to you because you heard it on the previous episode?
it's interesting to me because I heard on your podcast, and I'm up in age. I really don't want to be struggling, but I'm only out of the hospital 6 months, so I got to give it some time, work at it, and see where it's at. But definitely considering it.
Does the pain stop you from living a full life? Does it get in the way of your daily activities?
It does, but I'm used to the pain though. I have a high pain tolerance. It doesn't mean I like it, but
Yeah.
mine is higher than somebody else's.
Yeah. Does it mean that you're struggling to walk with it? Is it bad when people touch it? How does the leg feel?
Yeah, my daughter slaps it once in a while. I call him my dead foot, but
Uh-huh.
it's sometimes it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
You know how when you sit on your leg or your arm and it falls asleep,
Mm-hmm.
it's how it feels 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my leg and my left side. That's all my left side feels like that. And the burning sensation is not that bad all the time. Sometimes it's really bad. And if you drive the car and I'm next to my wife and she's on my left side, and you know how sometimes in the car, you touch your wife's knee or you touch her hand or whatever. Well, if she does that to me and she touches my left side, I have to tell her to stop touching me. So I do it. I say it because she's trying to be gentle and nice, but that's extremely painful to me. So I have to remind her that she's actually causing me pain. She doesn't like it because she's trying to be gentle, but
Yeah.
that's just how it is. All the time, 24/7. And at night, I sleep on my left side because if I sleep on my right side, the left side touches the sheets, and the sheets, because they're light and they shift a little bit, they actually interfere with my sleep. They cause pain and they wake me. So if I sleep on my left side, on my numb side, what happens is I kind of squash it with my body weight, and then it doesn't send pain signals for some reason. I can't understand it, but that's how it works.
I sleep on my left side. It's just being on the left side. It's mostly numb, so
Yeah,
it's just to me. It's just dead weight.
that's it.
And
Right.
yeah.
And when you get out of bed at night, if you go to the toilet or in the morning, do you have to pay attention and be really careful when you get out of bed to make sure that you don't fall over?
Oh, I fell on my brother's once, and ever since that day, I promised myself. I knew he had to pick me up. He heard me, and sure enough, he picked me up. I'm a tall guy, so him picking up dead weight was tremendous. It was hard on me.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot, and I weigh like 240. So
Yep.
for him to pick me up dead weight, it was not easy for him. I
Yeah.
promised myself since that day I will never fall again, and I never have.
I hope so, man. I hope you never fall again. The lady that we were talking about earlier was on episode 136, Sarah Curley. And yeah, she had spasticity in her leg, which was so bad. It was causing her so much pain. I think she did the amputation. I think it was below the knee. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly. And she said it changed her life for the positive, like for the better, completely changed her
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
And
if I follow her and she hikes and she does a lot of the things I like to do. And I definitely don't want the leg to get in my way. I would rather them take it and me continue in my life than struggle with it. That's just my opinion.
yeah, that's a fair enough opinion. Is it getting in your way? Is it stopping you from going on those hikes and doing those types of things with your family and your friends?
No, I mean, right now I manage myself where I can go. How far can I walk? What's going to get me tired? So I go to the gym. It takes me about 20 minutes to get there. I do about an hour at the gym, another 20 minutes back, and I feel fine. So that tells me I could go a little longer.
Okay.
So, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And we'll see in about a year. I'm taking medication for the leg. If it helps, I'll continue. If not, then I'm really considering just
Everything.
take the sucker. Yeah.
If you've had a stroke and are in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind, like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously because you've never had a stroke before, you probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
Yeah, you're considering everything. Okay, that's fair enough, man. I am, to be honest, it's a bit shocking to hear that, but I'm not in that situation, so I don't understand. But I have a friend who lost both his legs due to a disease called meningococcal when he was 19.
Uh-huh.
But so he lost one of them above the knee, and then I think it was about 5 or 6 years later he decided to go back and have the other one removed as well, because it was so damaged after the disease kicked in when he was 19 that it was stopping him from being able to live a full life and to be really free. And he had the awareness in his head. He kind of said, when they took my first leg off, that one is not stopping me from doing anything, because he had a metal leg and all that kind of stuff that made it perfectly fit him and all that type of thing. And then he realized that it wasn't the amputated leg that was causing him problems. It was the one that wasn't amputated that was making his life extremely difficult. And he went back and he got it cut off at the same location. And now he's balanced. Now he can run on his prosthetic legs. He can play golf, which he loves to do. He can do everything that he couldn't do before when he had one prosthetic leg and his his sick leg, because his leg was really sick at the time, right? So I've had this conversation with a few people before, and I'm starting to understand what's behind it. rather than just get shocked by the conversation and go,
Yeah.
well, man, that sounds dramatic. It's serious stuff behind it. It's not just, I'm going to cut my leg off and that's crazy.
Yeah. It's, I like to be outdoors. I like to be out there and just experience life. And I don't want my leg bothering me. And the other thing is, during the pandemic, they wouldn't cut your nails. So
Why?
my feet got real bad. They wouldn't cut them. So I was forced to have, like, if I would get an ingrown toenail, I had to let it pop out to the side.
Oh,
It was very painful. And that was because they just weren't allowed to trim you. And yeah, so when I would go on walks, like, my feet would bleed and I would have to wait a day or two for them to heal. And my left side is my bad side, so that foot got really infected. So I was just like, I get them trimmed professionally now. My daughter takes me, but in the hospital they wouldn't do that. That was about 4 to 5 months of just your nails growing.
wow, man.
Yeah. So if you had an ingrown, it just had to pop out to get some kind of relief.
That's too bad. That's so bad because I've had ingrain before, exactly what you're saying, and trying to let it do anything is really hard. And you can't sleep at night. You can't put the covers over you because it stings. And if it's on the left side, my left side, that makes it worse, 10 times worse. And I've got to get it trimmed. Those nails, you can't do that. I've never heard somebody tell me that because of the pandemic, they couldn't get their nails cut, man. That is nuts.
They wouldn't allow nail clippers in there at all. No nail clippers. I would ask to have my nails. I remember the first time I asked if I could have them trimmed. Nope. We don't allow them in here.
That's so weird. That is the strangest thing I've ever heard. But I'm continuously being surprised by new things I hear about this pandemic.
Yeah. And, I woke up in it, so I guess to them it was new. It's new to me, to my daughters right now. It's all new to them. I have a shunt in my head. I have a big bump in my head.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah.
So
there's a machine in my head that it drains into my stomach, keeps me alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was one of the results of whatever happened to you, whatever caused the stroke. You therefore needed a shunt to keep the cerebral fluid not creating pressure in your head and expanding and causing more problems.
Yeah. So the extra fluid just drains into my bladder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean you have to go to the toilet more often? Are you
Exactly.
okay?
Yeah. The kids always telling me, drink more water, but I don't want to go to the bathroom. Yeah, it's just a mission to go to the bathroom. I just haven't got it all down yet.
Yeah.
Like when I take a shower, I have to rely on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
When I change,
Mm-hmm.
I have to rely, putting my shorts on. So I have to rely on all that.
You and me have got a lot of things in common because when I take a shower, it's really dangerous. It can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
Because, in the shower before, you lift one foot and you wash between your toes and you're standing on the other foot, right? Well, I can't do that anymore either. And I have to lean on the tiles, on the cold tiles, and make sure that when I lift my foot to wash underneath it with the soap, that I'm not going to fall over. Like it really, it's very scary, actually. I never feel comfortable in the shower.
You know what? I don't either. And my left foot, I hate cleaning it. Even though that's the most painful part, is my foot. So having to wash it and clean it, it's annoying. It's painful. So I definitely don't enjoy that at all.
Yeah, I
Just
agree with you, man.
having to clean it and again, and it's now like more frequent.
Yeah.
Before I used to take a shower like 3 times a day. If I would sweat, I would be in the shower. But
Mhm.
now, I go to the gym and, before I go to bed, I got a shower. So that's 2 showers a day.
Yeah.
And it's just, I try to avoid the foot as much as possible.
Yeah, I understand.
It's
Do you ever walk barefoot?
yes.
Is that good for you, or is it weird? Because I can't walk barefoot. It's really strange.
No. I mean, I kind of learned to deal with it, but being barefoot doesn't bother me. It's if it goes away, the pain later on, we'll see. But
Mhm.
right now, it's fairly new. But I don't want to be in pain,
Yeah.
for the rest of my life. I don't want to be like that.
And are they giving you pain medication for that?
They're giving me something. They say I have nerve damage, so they're giving me something for it.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't help, I have to make a decision down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's a pretty full-on decision. Tell me, how old were the kids when you had the stroke, man?
Well, I think my oldest is 22, 20. She's 19 now. Well, I mean, she's 19 when it happened. My little one was 14. And I had just had a newborn. And he was 3 months old, 4 months old. So it was all new to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the kids. I can't remember short. I mean, I remember you, but I could forget.
Short-term memory issues?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I need to take notes now. My daughter had to put my email, phone number, and code in my notes. So I'll forget that. I'll be like, oh, damn, I forgot that. Or
Your
I'll
home
come back later. And
your
I'll be,
home
oh, shit.
address? Do you remember your home address?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
but yeah, the kids, that was one of the first things they asked me was about my kids and how old were they. And so I go in order always. It's always the oldest to the youngest. And then, it goes from 1 to 2 to 3. And then the nurse is looking at me and I'm like, oh, shit, that's right, I have a son. And it wasn't that I forgot. It's just he was so young when it happened. When I woke up in the hospital, I mean, we're learning to walk together, me and him right now.
Uh-huh.
He just left. Yeah. So me and him are like he knows who I am. And I'm grateful for that. But for a while, I didn't want anything. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I didn't want the mother to see me that way. And I didn't want my son to have a father that way. So that was very difficult. But for me, it was just like, I don't want it. I don't want my son to see me like this. My kids already knew. But my son was 3, 4 months old.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have him around me.
Yeah.
It's me being like that. But the mother's real good about telling them who I am and always reminding them that that's your dad, and she drops them off every week. So tomorrow will be our first sleepover. We'll sleep over tomorrow. So it'll be great.
That is awesome, man. That's so good to
Yeah.
hear. So who's walking better? Is he better at walking at the moment than you, or are you better than him?
Well, I had back surgery, so yeah, I have to keep up with him. He's real good. He has all this energy I don't have.
That's so good. It's a good motivation, isn't it? It's something to really motivate you to get better.
It's really good motivation.
Yeah.
Like I know I gotta grab him because he'll take off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's all over the house. He's here, there, up and over.
Yeah.
He keeps me on my toes. For sure.
And the other kids live with you?
My 2 oldest daughter takes care of me. My middle daughter lives up the street. So she's always over here.
So if you need a babysitter, everyone's close. You can get them to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe not my son. My son don't really like my daughters.
Uh-huh.
Only like one of them. Yeah. But
That's
he
all
has his reasons.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know.
They probably don't let him do whatever he wants, and he gets upset with them. They give him a hard time.
Well, something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, he doesn't like to be told no.
yeah, yeah.
You tell him no, it's drops his bottle, whatever he has in his hand, drops it and starts crying.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to hear it.
Hey, you know what's interesting, Luis, is you sound like stroke sounds like it's been pretty bad to you, right? In
Yeah.
the beginning, especially, it always is. Most people don't really have a good thing to say about stroke, and I completely accept that. I was the same, right? But on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago, I asked a question, which was, is stroke the worst thing that ever happened to you? And you said, no, it's not the worst thing that ever happened to me. You said the worst thing that ever happened to you was being involved in gang life.
Yeah.
Man,
That was much worse.
Stroke is pretty bad. That's one of the worst things that I've ever experienced in my life. But you reckon it's not as bad as gang life. Can you give me a bit of an insight into how old you were when you got involved with gang life?
Well, I was always around it. It was just, that was the way I was brought up. My dad was murdered when I was young. My neighbors, that was like the drug house, the gang house. So I grew up watching them. So it was normal for me. But if I was going to walk to your house, I'm going to get shot going to your house. And that was the way life was then. It was just, that was much harder than this.
So you're
Having to
constantly
watch yourself.
looking
Yeah.
over your shoulder, making sure
Yeah.
that you're not being tailed or.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'll take the stroke any day compared to that. Yeah.
What's the point of gang life? Is there a point to it? What's the reason that people get involved and do it? I know it's more complicated than me asking a silly question like this, right? But what do you feel like what is the point of it? Why does it even exist?
A lot of the kids are either they don't have parents. You kind of just grow up that way. For me, it was just they were there. They treat you more like family. But my brother never wanted it for me. My brother was always looked the other way. My brother was always cautious. But you get into it, and it consumes you. Because when you get old, because when you're young, you don't think of it. But when you get older and you become a father, you really don't want those problems. The problems that come with gang. Like here where I'm at now, there's gangs are everywhere. You got different Mexican gangs, black gangs, whatever. I mean, they don't bother me, but it's definitely when I walk into the store, be prepared. So I'm always prepared. I always have a knife on me, or I'm not going without a fight.
So even now, you're not in gang life anymore, but even now, it's still an issue for you, and you're still prepared
Well,
to
wherever I go,
look.
it's going to be an issue. Yeah.
Is that because of who you are, or is that because of the area you live in, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
tell my girls know.
Yeah.
I don't lie to my kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a rough one.
So with the gangs, they get together because they are lacking family members, parents, whatever it is. They find each other. They create a community. They belong somewhere. They don't necessarily have anyone guiding them in a different direction. Is that it? Is it also very difficult to be guided out. Your brother didn't get in, but at that young age, could anyone convince you to get out of that?
No, it was just, it was there. It was easy for me. When you're that young, it was kind of what I wanted. It's okay. Yeah. I was stabbed at a very young age. I was like 13, 12 when I got stabbed. But then I looked at it more like, oh, well, this is a badge of honor. I'm going to, the homies are going to talk about it. But I look at it now and it's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was much harder than this. I'll take the stroke any day compared to that. Any day.
Wow.
Younger. Yeah.
When you're not in gang life, you got no idea. We've got no idea what that could be like. And it would be very difficult. It'd be very stressful all the time. You're always more than likely looking to prove yourself and make sure that people didn't think there was weakness, make sure that people didn't think that they could, get one over you in any way, shape or form. You probably could never back down. You could never be vulnerable. You could never show emotion. Is that accurate? Are you never able to really be anything other than this gang member? And also between your own gang members, can you be emotional, vulnerable, any of those things?
Maybe to your close friends that know you the longest, but showing your weakness, no. It's not acceptable. That's something you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It makes you a target.
You'll be looked at different.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to have this Darth Vader shield on all the time. And it just had to go with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would be looked at different. That guy. No, you didn't want to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
When I hear about gang life in America, the only things I've ever heard of are what they show on on TV, on movies, that kind of thing. Is it involved? Do you guys get involved in colors? Is that how you identify each other? It's a different particular type of color or a patch or something that you wear to identify who is from which gang?
Well, definitely in the neighborhood I was in, everybody had their colors. So my neighborhood would be like considered the four corners. So it'd be brown, black, blue, and red. So they definitely knew, okay, that guy's wearing that color. So it would go that way for sure. Like my friend is a Browns fan. And I tell him, you're not a Browns fan. You only like the Browns because it's your gang color.
The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns. You don't like them. You like them because of your gang.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'll make fun of him, but I'm a Raider fan, so he can't. That's my worst enemy's color. So for me, it's okay.
Is there any older guys like you, 46 years old, still involved in the gangs, or is that a young man's game?
It's mostly a young man's game, but there's still a lot of older homies that don't want to let go, still want it. And, they want to live their life. That's their life. I don't want to live that life, but, more power to them that that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, fair enough. And is it easy to step away from it? Can you just say one day, I'm done with this, I'm out of here? Is that possible?
Yeah, it definitely is. You definitely, if you want to start a family or something, they're not going to bug you. At least where I'm from. I know some places that you can't.
Yeah.
They want you to choose this over everything. And no. My family to me was very important, and I caused so much damage in my youth that by my 20s, I wanted to settle down and
Mm-hmm.
have kids, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so thank God for that.
Yeah, man. Thank God. True. That so by 20 you were that wild. You were such a wild kid that by 20 you felt like you had done everything you needed to do and you needed to settle down. That is interesting in
I
itself.
needed to settle down. Yeah, it was just like start your family, and because at that age I was bored. I was like, I'm just doing the same stuff every day. I don't want to do that. Work, do a family. That was more for me.
How old were you when you lost your dad?
I was one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't know him at all, really.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So not a lot of guidance. It was you, your brother. Who else? How many?
My
siblings?
sister, I have a stepbrother now. I don't like saying stepbrother, but I have a little brother. And my family, my brother has a family. And I have a big family. I come from a big, big family.
So there was a lot of support. Was there a lot of support still in the family when you were growing up, and or wasn't that support there? Did they distance themselves from you? What happens there?
No, because we lived in a separate area. So, I mean, that was the style I chose, you know. I remember I got sick one time and my mom wanted to put rubbing alcohol on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't let her do it because I had a big tattoo on my stomach. And they were all, let me put it on. Let me rub it on you. And I was like, no. I'm okay. But I had a big tattoo on my stomach. And I didn't want them to see it. And yeah. They'll eventually see me now. You have tattoos everywhere. I'm like, yeah, you know.
What is it with that, man? You're in a gang. You're real tough. You're fighting people all the time. Who knows what else you're getting up to? And you're afraid to let your mum see a tattoo? What's all that about?
Mom is mean. Mom don't mess around. You know, that's one woman right there that will mess you up for sure. Yeah.
That's the funniest thing you just ever said to me. I'm thinking we're going to be talking about, you know, all the tough stuff you did, and then you tell me you couldn't show your mum your tattoo because she's
I couldn't.
one mean lady.
My grandma saw my tattoo once on my arm. And she told my mom right away. Mom grabbed the kitchen knife and was trying to cut it off. Yeah.
Shit.
She doesn't play around. My mom is, I have so many now that she just gives up. Yeah. Forget it. But back then they meant something. Back then you got a tattoo. It kind of represented your status. But now everybody just gets them to get them. You know, back then it was more, okay, he got this because he did something or he was in jail or, I mean, I never been, but those what that meant back then, you know? So today a lot of kids just get them on their face, on their hands. And it kind of, for me anyways, kind of defeats the purpose. Because your tattoos, to someone at my age, would understand what they mean.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, the youth today they don't understand.
No, my sons have got tattoos everywhere. My sons are 25 and 21 at the moment. They've got heaps of tattoos. And they didn't care. There was nothing. They never got it. You know, we're fortunate we don't live in an area where there was gangs and we didn't have those types of issues. But as soon as they were allowed to legally, when they turned 18 and go to a tattoo parlor and get to tattoo, they were covered in tattoos. It was just what you do, right? And my mum was like that. Their grandmother was like that. And they didn't want their grandmother to see the tattoos because she was going to give them a hard time. Yeah. She was going to give them a hard time. And even now that they're 21 and 25, if they walk past her without their top on, she does the head shake, you know, she what's this stuff? And why have you got this stuff on your body? Your body was beautiful. And she just goes on and does not let them get away with it.
I bet. I bet. But, back then you didn't think like that. You want that? Back then, my friends had to hold batteries together and get tattooed with a guitar string.
With a guitar
one
string.
needle. Yeah, one needle, sharpened down. One needle would do everything, and it was very painful. Compared to now, you're getting tattooed with like a machine that has 16 needles.
Uh-huh.
So it goes by much quicker. But back then, it was your friend holding a batter set, getting tattooed. Yeah, it was not fun.
And you couldn't back. And if you're getting it for a reason, if you're getting it because it says a story about your gang life, can you back out of it if it's too painful? Can you show that it's too painful, or do you just have to cop it?
Well, yeah, I actually did. My stomach was just way too painful. It was to the point where I told him just do half of it. So, like when I was 14, I already had this tattoo on my stomach, but I told them no, that it was just too painful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Were you lucky that you didn't end up in jail?
Yeah. It probably would have been good for me, but I'm glad I didn't. Never did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to jail once for like 2 days, and I regretted it.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me. I'm like, nah, I don't want to live like that. Yeah. Some guys like that lifestyle where they're in the cell, in jail, it's like being outdoors. You get high in there. You get, you sit in your cell all day and you get loaded.
Uh-huh.
Some guys like that lifestyle. I didn't want the lifestyle. So for me, it was either work, family. That was it for me.
Isn't it interesting what you just said? Supposedly the justice system puts people in jail to punish them. But what you're telling me is some people don't see it as a punishment.
No, some people actually prefer to be in jail because you get fed, you sleep. Some people prefer to be in there because they're troublemakers. They're constantly getting in trouble. They're in there with other people that are in trouble. It's basically a college to learn more criminal activity. That's what it is. You don't go there to rehab. It's a big waste of money. You go there to be a better criminal.
Wow.
And that's what they teach you. Yeah. It's no life. If you like being indoors all day long, eating at a stove, a makeup stove, yeah, that's your life. But if you don't want to go back there, you don't go back there.
Yeah, I hear
you.
So when you were in your 20s, you wanted to settle down. It sounds like you had kids pretty young, like me as well. I was 22 when my first son was born. I'm 47 as well now. I was born in 1974. Sounds like you were born in 1974.
Yeah, same year.
That's it. Yeah. So were you still involved in the gang life when the kids were very little, or had you moved out of it quite?
No, I mean, you're kind of always going to be involved with it. It kind of sticks with you. Well, as you get older, for me anyways, it's you see what's real and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what you got to take from it.
Mm-hmm.
There's good friends and there's bad friends. There's friends today that won't say nothing. When I was growing up, a friend would do your time and will not say nothing. Today, it's the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy facing football numbers and they're quick to tell. So, I've seen it all. I've been around it all.
Do you reckon that is what has made you be able to manage with something as serious as a stroke? And did it make you tough that stroke is difficult, but in your mind, it's like, whatever, I'll get over it. Like, did it prepare you for stroke? What did it do? Like, it sounds strange. Like,
Yeah, in a way it did.
uh-huh.
I've been through a lot worse. I don't like the stroke, but
Yeah.
it's a reminder that I've been through a lot worse than this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's new to me, but I can definitely get to a point in my life where I can enjoy life
Mm-hmm.
and my kids and go hiking maybe later on next year. But yeah, it prepares you, definitely. Because I've been in that, position when I was real young.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of prepares you for it. Because right now it's more like whatever. I had, but I've been through a lot worse.
This is going to be an interesting question. Would you change your upbringing? Would you change your life in the gangs? Would you make it, if you could go back, would you erase it? Would you make it that you never did it and took a different path like your brother, or not?
No, I wouldn't do it. I'm happy with my life. I got to experience something at a young age. There's something, when I had the stroke, I was in a coma. And I got to live a real rich life when I was on life support, whatever I want. So I have that experience of living both lives, rich, poor, whatever. So no, I wouldn't change it.
So what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is, are you saying that the spectrum of life that you've lived is very extreme, one to the other? You've seen rich, poor, you've seen coma, you've seen being awake and alert, you've been stabbed, you've seen all these things, and it's a big spectrum, and you feel like you lived a very big part of life or a lot of life. Like, what is that right? Is that how you feel?
I definitely got to see a lot as a young kid. Stuff that you wouldn't want to see.
Bad things.
I mean, you don't want to go to school and you're being shot at or you're being chased. You don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's things that you have to do, to survive.
Yeah.
So always pay attention, always be alert.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, I had shortcuts. I had shortcuts everywhere. Everywhere I went, I had a shortcut. If I had to hop through your house, I'll hop through your house. But I always had that shortcuts. Shortcuts saved my life because I was aware.
Yeah.
I'm not going to walk down this street and get shot at. It was me.
It gave you tools that you could use. Did it give you tools that you could use for this next big challenge? Did it give you stuff that you can take from that old life and maybe a mindset or determination, or did it give you stuff that you're using now?
It's definitely your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That if I could overcome my youth, I could somewhat overcome this.
Yeah.
As best as possible. It's still new to me.
Yeah.
I haven't been out that long, but I've been in worse positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it's really fascinating. I asked that question and I thought everyone was going to say stroke was the worst thing that happened to them, but very few people, well, it was about 50-50. Most people thought that it wasn't the worst thing that happened to them. Some people were grateful that it happened to them. All sorts of strange things came back and I was just stunned about it. I was stunned personally. I didn't expect it, but it makes sense. We're all different. We all have different life experience. We all have different challenges that we have to face. And all the stroke is, everyone has a different stroke. No one has the same stroke all the time because we're all different. It happens in a different part of our brain. It affects different parts of our body. So I was really stunned, but your comment really your comment of the gang life was worse. Well, that makes sense to me now that we've spoken, but I've never experienced gang life, and it was a very interesting concept to hear you say that. And it felt like even from your comment, it felt like you were the kind of guy, because you had the stroke, because you had this gang life, that stroke was just another challenge and you were going to find a way through it. Even though it's early days, I actually believe that you will, and most people do. And I feel like you've got a really good baseline, a really good skill set of things because of your life that are going to be really helpful and useful to make your recovery as best as possible. Yep, you're going to have to deal with the shunt in your head for the rest of your life. You're going to have to deal with the numbness and all that kind of stuff. But after me being in my position now for nearly 10 years, I don't think about all the things that bother me on a daily basis. I don't think about them all day, every day. I only think about them when it's being annoying. It feels to me like I don't think about the stroke all the time and what it's done to me. I only think about it when it bothers me, when it annoys me, when I'm in the shower and I can't balance, or when I get out of bed in the morning to put my foot down. You know, with gang life, you said that you're switched on, you're thinking about it all the time, you're watching your back all the time. Are you doing the same thing with stroke, or are there moments where you forget about it and you're not paying attention and you're just being present in the moment, like when your child is over or when you're doing something you enjoy?
No, you have to be on your toes. You know, especially when my child's here, I know I have to be 100%. The mom asked me, I told her if I could have him. One day I told her if I could have him an extra day. And she was all, can you handle it? And I was very grateful for that, because she's watching over me. She's saying, well, I don't mind you having him, but how are you going to feel? So that made me feel good, because it is hard. It is hard to, you know, I'm dealing with this, and it's new to me, but experiences. But when the kids are here, I definitely have to be on my toes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My two oldest are here because they got boyfriends, but they just run all over me.
Yeah.
They're, you know, I'm not allowed to go outside. Or I could go outside, but they don't want me to have a stroke when I'm at the store or something, because I take a lot of medication. And they prefer it to happen here. But it's new to them, it's new to me.
Yeah.
So I don't say nothing.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's new to them. They're dealing with it as well. They're trying to work out what's going on with their dad.
Yeah. Because I went from being the Hulk to being Mickey Mouse. You know, it's like, I remember they used to call me the Hulk, but I feel more like Mickey Mouse now. And it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
I have to, they're here, they take care of me. And I used to tell them before, who's going to take care of me when I'm old? But, you know, it's like they're taking care of me now. And it's funny. I think about it sometimes. But I'm glad that they said, you know what, we'll take them, and they work hard, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
They're here, and they're watching me, and they make sure I take my medications. I have my mask.
Yep.
And they're always watching me. I'll go to the gym. It's like, be careful. You at your phone. They always make sure that I'm 100%. My brother always checks up on me. My nieces, they're my mom. Of course, my mom she's constantly here, bringing me my mail or food. But my mom is huge. Is huge. You know, she's a big anchor in this. Even though our feuds when we were younger, I wouldn't change it. Mom is an amazing woman. You know, she can raise a knife to me anytime. You know.
And you keep finding ways to give her a hard time. You know, when you were a kid, you were in gangs, then then you had a stroke, and she's like, far.
Oh yeah, I kept her on the toes for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying, man. I know what you're saying is that the stroke recovery right now is front of mind for you, and it's front of mind for everybody. Everyone wants to make sure you're well. Everyone's checking in with you, and that makes sense. It's very early days. I wish you a speedy recovery. I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, and consider all options, whichever ones work for you. Hopefully, they can manage the pain, and things will settle down and be better. And I really appreciate you responding to my question, and then being kind enough to come on the podcast and have this conversation with me about a topic that I've only ever seen in the movies, that I've only ever, seen on TV shows from America. And I've got no idea what it's like. So I'm constantly learning about stroke. And one of the things I'm trying to do is just create as much awareness as possible and use as many stories as possible from different backgrounds as possible, because not everyone had the same background, upbringing, stroke, life as me. Like, nobody had that. And I find it fascinating when people connect with me from a completely different part of the world, completely different cultural background and upbringing, and we have so much in common. That just drives me makes me so happy to connect with people that we have a lot in common with. And what I'm realizing after nearly 160 episodes, I think this is going to be 157 or something like that, is doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what your upbringing is, whether you're rich or poor or whatever, everyone wants the same thing. They just want to be safe, and they just want to be healthy. That's all they want.
Exactly. Hey, this is all we want. I want to be able to walk with my son, go hiking with him. Everybody, my nieces, my daughters. But, I have to work at it. And it's still early. I got time to work at it and mess with it. And, okay, this is working for me. This is not working for me. And kind of just go from there. But, I'm grateful. It happened. I can't cry about it. It happened, and I just got to make the best of it. I can't sit around and mope around. I gotta, I gotta keep pushing.
How good is it to be around, obviously, for your entire family, but for your baby?
It is really good. It is really good. He was here a little while ago causing trouble.
Yeah.
And but when he's here, I got to be on my toes 100%, because he's all over the place.
Yeah.
And he's a handful.
And it's the simple things in life, isn't it? That life doesn't get more complex, doesn't need to be more complicated than that, really, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's simple things in life that people take for granted.
Yeah.
Like when I was in a coma, I experienced that life. I experienced being very wealthy. I experienced being very poor. I experienced it both. It just makes me more grateful.
Yeah.
Because I experienced a lot of lives and I was in a coma. So it makes me great. I lived that life.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't awake fully, I got to experience it. And no one could ever take that from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you working before the stroke?
Yeah, I was. I was going to school, actually.
Uh-huh.
I was going to school to be a bus driver. And that's when it happened.
And
I actually called my teacher. His number was just on my phone, and I decided to call him and just to say thank you. But he wasn't there no more. But I told him thank you, and he's someone remember me, but he was telling me if I wanted to go back, to go. I'm not allowed to drive right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a brand new car and I can't even drive.
Right.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's not looking likely that you're going to get back to work, at least in the near future you're not going to be working for a little while?
I don't think so. I mean, right now, um, they're talking about going back to work. Well, I'm just trying to survive. I don't
Yeah.
know about you. Want me in such a hurry to go back to work? I'm just trying to learn to walk, talk,
Yeah.
function. It's all new to me, and I don't see it either. But here, where I'm at in California, it's different. They're just like a year, you'll be okay. You'll be back to normal. I don't see it. I don't see it one bit.
They look at you wearing a hat. If they can't see your shunt in your head, do you look normal?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. See,
I'm
so
a
they
little
look at
bald.
you. They look at you and they go, Luis looks good, man. He's okay. So they assume that because you look okay, you must be okay.
Uh, yeah, but getting brain surgery, you just, yeah, you have to stop and think. Common sense tells you,
It should.
this guy, yeah, I mean, they just got to think about it a little bit. This guy needs help, not rushing back to work. Let's help this guy. And too many people are in a hurry to just throw you back in the wolves.
Yeah.
No. I'm just trying to get better and
Yeah.
walk and talk better. My speech is not that great. I had a machine that spoke for me, but I have to learn to. I don't have these things. I have to learn to get up and I'm grateful for that. When my brothers took me home and my sister-in-law, I was so thankful. I was like, God damn, I can't wait to leave this hospital. But then when I got to his house, I realized, what the hell? I can't walk. I barely could walk. And it was just like, yeah, I'm such in a hurry to leave when I can barely walk. And that for me, I thought was kind of quick.
So it would have been a little better to have more time in rehabilitation, more time in recovery at hospital, so that you don't come home with such difficulties.
Well, I don't know about the recovery in this pandemic because they had everything shut down. So I was stuck in a room most of the time. I wasn't really allowed other people. They only had 1, 2 nurses at a time. On Fridays, the doctors would come, but they kept everything really shut down. I really just wanted to eat. I was getting fed through my stomach, and all this food would come by, and I'd be like, just let me eat. I just want to eat.
And then when you did eat for the first time, it was a risk of choking. Yeah, there was
Exactly.
not safe.
Yeah. They had to x-ray me to make sure I could swallow or what my swallowing was like. So they did that and they decided, well, he could eat this type of food. But whatever, man, they gave it to me, I ate it. I couldn't wait. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Give it to me. Yeah.
What was the food that you were really dying to get your hands on?
Oh, man, I could have gone for a burger.
Burger.
Good burger.
Yeah.
Burger, pizza, something. The hospital food wasn't that great, but I haven't eaten in 3-4 months, so it was great to me, except the mashed potatoes. The mashed potatoes were horrible. But everything else was, I just take it down. There you go. Boom, boom.
And
Yes,
at
I
that
would take
time,
it.
is the tube in your stomach still, or have they taken the tube out at that point?
No, they actually took the tube out the day I was going to leave. It was hanging, but they weren't using it. They weren't feeding me, but it was still in me. So it had a rubber piece on the end, and the doctor who put it in was like, it's just because it's going to be painful. And sure enough, it's only going to hurt for like 10 seconds. But he pulled it out, and it was so painful. 10 seconds, my ass, that hurt it forever. It was horrible. But I got it out.
So, when the tube is in your stomach and you're not eating, are you allowed to drink through your mouth or no drinking either?
No, everything got fed through tubes. Everything.
Are you thirsty? What's happening in your mouth?
They're giving you ice chips.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Suck on those yeah. So when they gave me soda for the first time, I was just like, yes. Boom, I'll take it. There was this orderly that always gave me my neighbor's food because it was extra, or he had extra food, and he would give it to me. Can you eat this? And I'd be like, yeah. Well, it says here that you can't, but he would give it to me anyways. Sandwiches, sodas, and I'd be like, yes. And yeah, I was happy. Yeah, eating was, getting fed through the stomach was horrible.
Sounds like you really missed it. And again, I've never been in that situation, so I can't understand it, but it sounds like you were passionate to eat again.
Oh my God, I couldn't. In the morning, there was this, it was like a cart that would come by every morning to feed the workers, or the workers could buy whatever they want. One day I was like, stop in my room. I didn't have no money, but I was like, stop in my room. And I just wanted to eat some food. And I would tell them all the time, what are you going to eat? And not yet. But yeah, eating was a huge part. Let me eat.
Did you put on more weight after you came out of hospital? Are you back at your old weight, or are you still a bit lighter than you were before the stroke?
I'm a bit lighter, but I had to put on the weight back and then cut down, because when I came out, I was like a toothpick. I was just skinny. Yeah. I didn't want to be that way. So it was just more for me to put the weight back on, see what happens. And then this next year on my birthday, see where I'm at. Because that would be about 6 months in the gym. So that would tell me where I'm at, where my legs at. Test, whatever future test.
Was the gym hard at the beginning, or was it difficult to get back into the routine of pushing your body?
Pushing my body was very difficult. Yeah. Because you could barely walk. But I always enjoyed working out or playing. So that for me was okay. It was good. So when the recovery agents came to my house, it took me for a walk and stuff. I didn't mind. It was like, okay, I got to do this. Let's do it now. But I learned that the best way to do it is by yourself. If you're gonna do it here, is go out by yourself, go to the gym by yourself, because therapy here is a big joke. My insurance only covers a couple weeks at that, and by then they're only there to teach you to walk. What I'm doing now, walk up and down, go down the street, go up the street. So in my eyes, I could just do that by myself. I want to work out, I'll go to the machine.
Yeah.
I want to walk, I'll just take a walk.
Yeah, I think you're very lucky in what you're able to do. I think you're blessed a little bit in that way. A lot of people can't do any of that stuff by themselves. But yeah, it's important to take responsibility and do what you can do and be as independent as you can. So if that works, that works. That's what I did. I got annoyed because to go to rehab to get better at walking, I had to do a 1 hour trip there. By the time I get there and stay there for an hour, I've got to come back and it takes an hour to get back. That's 3 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
3 days a week. And it was too much. And I just said, look, guys, that's enough. I'm not coming back again. I'm going to do this by myself. I did it. I said exactly the same thing. I'm going to take responsibility now. You've done a great job so far, but I can't spend 3 hours every second day coming to rehab. I haven't got a life. I can't do anything. So
yeah,
I did it at home. I started to go for a walk. And when I was afraid to walk on my own outside, or I didn't want to walk in the sun because it was too hot, I would go to the shopping mall near our house and walk in the shopping mall on my own while my wife was at work and my kids were at school. I would just go to the shopping mall, air conditioning, have something to eat and walk around for 1 hour if I felt like it. And then I just went home because the shopping mall is only 5 minutes away by car. And by that time I was allowed to drive again. Some days, I wasn't really allowed to drive. They didn't actually tell me I can drive, but
do you drive now?
I do now. Yeah, I felt better. After about 6 or so months to start driving, and I drove. But yeah, that's what I used to do to get exercise instead of trying to waste my time. The hours of the day getting there and coming back from rehab. It was a big issue.
Yeah. Same for me. I mean, I had to wait for 3 caretakers, one to work me out, 2 to work me out, and one would do puzzles. She'd be on her phone all day and, do your puzzles. And now I do the puzzles on my phone. I could buy puzzles. But yeah, for me, it's easier if you do it. You want to get healthy, you want to walk, it's best for you to go get it yourself. Because they're not going to give it to you here. There's too many people here trying to get the help or getting the help. It's just, if you're not going to get it, go out and get it yourself.
Yeah.
Don't depend on, there's somebody going to come. And, my daughter's my caretaker. My daughter cooks for me, cleans for me, makes sure I take my medicine. The only thing I won't allow her to do is, you ain't ever change me. I'm just like my grandfather. I'm stubborn. I don't need help in the shower. I don't want help in the shower. Maybe that's why they had an alarm in my bed. I couldn't go nowhere. At the hospital, even though I couldn't walk, they had an alarm on my bed. I must have been doing something that they didn't like. For them to put on an alarm on my bed, I had to be doing something.
In case you escaped.
I'm like my grandfather. My grandfather would be at the elevator ready. God, my grandfather was vicious. He liked the hospital, but he didn't want to, because of his age. He had to be there all day, and he didn't like that. So they would find him at the elevator in his pajamas, elevator here. They're like, no, you can't go, not yet. And he didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Luis, thank you so much for being on the
Anytime.
podcast. I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to following you on Instagram, and I'm wishing you well and hoping that you have a really good recovery, man.
Likewise. Thank you for everything you're doing. I definitely learned a lot. You showed me a lot, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
My pleasure. That's a wrap, dude. I will edit this. I will get it up and running. I will send you an email with the finished version. I will put it on Instagram, and you can share it with whoever you want and tell whoever you want about it as well.
All right. Thank you very much.
Who's that? Is that your daughter? Is that your daughter?
This is my oldest.
Hello.
And my second daughter.
The whole family. Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks for setting this up for me.
Thanks for talking with him.
My pleasure. All the best.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining me on today's Recovery After Stroke podcast. Do you ever wish there was just one place to go for resources, advice, and support in your stroke recovery? Whether you've been navigating your journey for weeks, months, or years, I know firsthand how difficult it can be to get the answers you need. The road is both physically and mentally challenging, from reclaiming your independence to getting back to work to rebuilding your confidence and more. Your symptoms don't follow a rule book, and as soon as you leave the hospital, you no longer have medical professionals on tap. I know for me, it felt as if I was teaching myself a new language from scratch, with no native speaker in sight. If this sounds like you, I'm here to tell you that you're not alone, and there is a better way to navigate your recovery and build a fulfilling life that you love. I've created an inclusive, supportive, and accessible membership community called Recovery After Stroke. This all-in-one support and resource program is designed to help you take your health into your own hands. This is your guidebook through every step in your journey, from reducing fatigue to strengthening your brain health to overcoming anxiety and more. To find out more and to join the community, head to recoveryafterstroke.com. See you next time.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.